I never thought retirement would feel like a battlefield, until I saw my wife on the ground, crying out in pain because of the HOA. They thought I'd stay quiet, that I was just another neighbor. What they didn't know was that I spent 25 years dismantling tyrants, one mission at a time. After 25 years of deployments, Pine Ridge Estates looked like the place where peace could finally breathe. My wife, Sarah, a nurse with endless patience, saw our new home as a reward for everything we'd survived. I saw it as a chance to unlearn war. We settled into a rhythm that felt almost unreal, mornings filled with the hum of sprinklers, evenings thick with the smell of her herb garden. I built a small woodworking station in the garage, crafting benches and birdhouses just to keep my hands busy. For the first time in decades, I wasn't building defenses. I was building life. Neighbors waved. Children rode bikes. The lake shimmered behind our house like a promise that things could stay calm. Sarah laughed more. I slept longer. And for a while, it felt like Pine Ridge really was the quiet refuge the realtor promised. But peace rarely ends with explosions, it dies with paperwork. The first sign came as a crisp envelope slipped under our door. Notice of violation. Unapproved exterior structure. My trellis, the one I'd built for Sarah's climbing roses, apparently needed architectural approval. I smiled, shrugged, and told her I'd clear it up. She kissed my cheek and said, "It's probably nothing." I wanted to believe her, but somewhere deep, an old instinct stirred, the one that wakes before trouble makes a sound. The next morning, a black SUV with HOA decals rolled to a stop outside. A man in mirrored sunglasses stepped out, clipboard in hand, muscles packed into a polo shirt 2 sizes too small. "Name's Chad Wilson, compliance officer," he announced. His tone carried that casual arrogance I'd heard from lieutenants who'd never seen combat. He pointed at the trellis. "This violates Regulation 27B, Section 4. Needs pre-approval. Fines $500. I kept my voice even. "We weren't aware. I'll submit the forms retroactively." Chad smirked. "There's no retroactive approval. Rules are rules. Remove it in 48 hours or the fine doubles." He slapped the notice into my hand like a drill sergeant awarding punishment, then strutted back to his SUV. That evening, my neighbor Mike leaned over the fence. "Met the enforcer, huh? Be careful. HOA's run by Karen Matthews. Calls herself president but acts like a dictator. Chad's her attack dog." I studied the paperwork that night. The fines were real, the tone condescending, the rules stacked thick with loopholes only the board could interpret. Sarah brushed my shoulder. "Let's not make enemies. We'll just talk to them." But I'd seen this dynamic before, in villages where power masqueraded as order. And something about Chad's smug confidence told me this wasn't about community standards. It was about control. 2 days later, I attended my first HOA meeting. The room smelled of overpriced candles and entitlement. Karen Matthews sat at the head, jewelry sparkling like armor. When I asked for clarification on the violation, she smiled without warmth. "Our goal is harmony, Mr. Morrison. Cooperation keeps property values high." I left the meeting with a handshake that felt like a threat. The war I thought I'd left behind was starting to take shape again. Only this time, the battlefield had manicured lawns and welcome signs. Within a week, new violation letters appeared like clockwork. Mailbox paint not compliant. Lawn height exceeding limit. Garbage cans visible from street. Each fine stacked on the last until the total felt more like extortion than enforcement. Sarah tried to laugh it off at first, but her hands trembled when she opened each envelope. "They can't really do this, can they?" she asked. "They can try," I said quietly. "Question is, why us?" I started noticing the SUV idling near our driveway at night. Headlights off. Chad behind the wheel, taking pictures, documenting evidence. The same look I'd seen in rookies who thought intimidation equaled authority. Mike confirmed my suspicion. "They've run off 3 families this year. Anyone who complains gets buried in fines until they sell. Karen buys the foreclosed homes cheap through a shell company. So that was the game. Control the board, crush resistance, profit from fear." I filed an appeal letter, quoting their own bylaws, asking for reconsideration. 3 days later, I received 5 new citations. Message received. That evening, Sarah placed a cup of tea beside me and whispered, "Maybe we should just let them win." I looked at her bandaged hand, scraped from trimming roses to meet their height rule. "You stood by me through every storm overseas. I'm not letting bureaucrats break us at home." I began cataloging every letter, photographing every infraction, logging timestamps. My calm returned, not the peace of relaxation, but the calm before action. When Chad's SUV crept past again, I didn't react. I simply noted the time, 22:47 hours. The mission had begun. On a bright Saturday, Sarah decided to take down the trellis. "Maybe if we remove it, they'll stop," she said. I offered to help, but she insisted. "Let me handle it. We need closure." I was in the garage when I heard shouting. Then a cry, sharp, pained, unmistakable. I sprinted out. Sarah lay on the walkway, clutching her shoulder. 3 HOA enforcers stood over her, Chad in front, 2 others behind with phones recording. "She resisted inspection," Chad said flatly. "Inspection?" I crouched beside Sarah, gently supporting her arm. "You assaulted my wife." HOA policy allows property access under Section 12. His hand rested near a taser holster. For a split second, my training screamed, "Neutralize, disable, eliminate." But years of restraint held me steady. "Step back," I said quietly. He didn't. Mike's voice cut through from across the street. "I'm recording everything." The enforcers retreated just enough. When Officer Benson arrived, the pieces clicked. Friendly nods. Inside jokes. A report written to blame Sarah for tripping. No arrest, no investigation. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed a dislocated shoulder. I watched Sarah's reflection in the window as she tried not to cry. "They'll get away with it, won't they?" "Not this time," I said. The tone in my voice made her look up. It was the same voice I used before every mission briefing. Calm, certain, dangerous. The next morning, I met Mike in his office. Old case files and police photos lined the shelves. "I've been keeping notes on them," he said, handing me a folder. Inside, complaints, canceled checks, and a trail of financial inconsistencies. "Karen's husband died mysteriously 3 years ago," he continued. "Officer Benson handled the case. She's been living large ever since. Rebecca, Mike's wife, was an investigative reporter. She joined us, intrigued. If we expose them, we'll need airtight proof, money trail, witnesses, state violations." I smiled. "That's what I'm good at." At home, Sarah rested, her arm in a sling. "Promise me you won't do anything reckless," she said softly. "Reckless? No," I replied. "Precise? Absolutely." I spent nights studying HOA bylaws, state regulations, and residents' complaints. The pattern was clear. Selective enforcement, fabricated fines, and financial manipulation. The next board meeting would be my reconnaissance mission. As Karen droned about community harmony, I scanned the room, noting each board member's nervous tick. Doug, the treasurer, flinched when finances were mentioned. Weak link identified. This wasn't revenge, it was strategy. And strategy was my old language. Operation Clean Sweep began quietly. I documented every HOA violation they committed. Karen's illegal gazebo, Doug's unregistered shed, Chad's unapproved fence. I recorded board meetings, noting every procedural breach. Sarah, even injured, helped organize neighbors. "If we stand together, they can't isolate us," she said. Her calm determination inspired others. I launched a private community forum under the name Pine Ridge Truth. Residents started sharing horror stories, fines for holiday lights, threats for wheelchairs on porches, citations for kids' toys in yards. When Karen tried to shut it down, Rebecca published an article questioning the HOA's transparency. The story spread fast. Fear turned to outrage. Meanwhile, Sam Wilson, a young attorney and ex-Army Ranger whom Sarah once treated after an accident, offered his help. "You saved my life," he told her. "Let me return the favor." Together, we filed formal complaints with state regulators, complete with photographic evidence and testimony. The walls began to close in. At the next board meeting, I confronted Karen publicly. Selective enforcement violates your own bylaws. Want to see examples? I passed out color photos of her violations. Gasps rippled through the room. Doug's face paled. Karen slammed the gavel. This meeting is adjourned. Adjournment without addressing safety concerns is another violation, I said calmly. Shall I note that for the record? The room erupted. Neighbors whispering, cameras flashing. For the first time, the board looked afraid. Pressure makes people sloppy. Within a week, Doug approached me man-to-man. He offered to cancel our fines if we withdrew the state complaint. Pine Ridge just isn't the right fit for your family, he said. That sounds like extortion, I replied. Want to repeat it for my lawyer? His smile vanished. Soon after, Chad appeared again, this time looking uneasy. They're going too far, he muttered. Benson's planning something. They want to plant evidence in your truck. I met his gaze. Let them try. That night, hidden cameras watched as Benson slipped a small bag under my seat. Hours later, he returned in uniform. Acting on an anonymous tip, I granted permission to search. When he triumphantly held up the planted bag, I let him open it, only for powdered sugar to spill out. You planted that at 2:17 a.m., I said, showing the video feed from my phone. His face drained white as backup officers arrived. By evening, Benson was in cuffs, Karen and Doug in panic mode. Rebecca's exposé dropped that same night. Headline: HOA leaders under investigation for embezzlement and abuse. State auditors confirmed over $250,000 diverted through fake consulting firms tied to Karen's relatives. Doug's gambling debts, Chad's sealed domestic violence record, Benson's bribes, all exposed. Search warrants followed. The next morning, neighbors lined their porches as Karen was led away in handcuffs, shouting about misunderstandings. For the first time, Pine Ridge Estates was quiet for the right reason. Months later, sunlight filtered through Sarah's rebuilt trellis, now covered in full-bloom roses. The HOA had been dissolved. A new resident-run council managed community affairs transparently. Fees dropped, trust returned. Chad, having testified against the others, received probation and community service at the local Veterans Center. He approached Sarah one afternoon, voice trembling. I'm sorry. You showed me mercy when I didn't deserve it. She smiled kindly. Then make sure no one else has to go through it. Mike and Rebecca hosted a neighborhood gathering they called the Reclamation. Children played, laughter replaced tension, and for once, fences felt like mere boundaries, not battle lines. As dusk settled, Sarah leaned on my shoulder. Do you ever miss the action? I looked at the lake, calm as glass. No, I said, but I'm glad the training still counts for something. She smiled. You didn't fight a war this time, you built peace. I nodded slowly. Same principle, different weapons. I turned toward the camera, the invisible audience I imagined listening to our story. They thought they could bully one family. What they forgot is that strength doesn't fade with retirement, it evolves. You don't need a uniform to stand your ground. Just conviction, patience, and proof. The roses swayed behind us, red as victory. The battlefield changed, I said softly. But the mission never did. Protect the innocent, expose the corrupt, and never underestimate a man trained to fight silently.